The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Thank God it's not played on a Sunday. It's the Ole Miss Running Rebels, or the Ole Miss Rebels. They're 10-2 out of the SEC. They're matched up against the Penn State Nittany Lions out of the Big Ten. They're 10-2. Both these two teams, 10-2 teams. Interesting. Ole Miss's 2 losses on the year. 2, Alabama and Georgia. Penn State's 2 losses on the year. To Ohio State and Michigan. Both of these teams have marquee losses. Fresh, me and you are split on this game for different reasons. I'll let you go first. Let you talk about why you think one way or another. Right now, spread of this football game is Penn State by 3.5. Over under for this game as well is set at 48.5 points.
Well, folks, my most overrated team in the country is Penn State. Haps' most overrated team in the country is Ole Miss. This is actually a perfect game. And actually, it would have been one of those games that would have been fun to go to, just sort of we can, chant overrated 24/7. Penn State's offense has, we've always talked about for the entire year, 2 solid running backs, and Drew Lohr coming in was supposed to be the guy to take the next step this year and really turn this Penn State offense into something that would really compete with Ohio State and Michigan. And that is everything extremely far from the case. They've been okay and above average versus terrible teams and average teams. But in those 2 games versus Michigan and Ohio State, they were major duds and no-shows. Offensive coordinator even got fired for it. James Franklin, when are you going to get this offense under control and show us something? Your defense is solid. Not going to deny that. It's really, really good. But your offense against teams that have quality is putrid. And that is going to hold you back. Even a 12-team playoff going forward with Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA now in the league. Plus, we have a competent coach up there in Michigan State. Wisconsin's been recruiting. Nebraska's been recruiting. Your ability to get into the playoff is going to be stretched a lot more now. I think you kind of maybe even choked a little bit and blew your opportunity by not beating Michigan and or Ohio State and getting yourself a chance to play for a Big Ten title. Last year, you were gifted a Rose Bowl when you finished 3rd, and both teams made the playoff. This offense is holding it back, and eventually, Nittany Lion fans are going to start looking at you as the head coach of why this team is being held back and why this offense is not performing at a high level. And you might say I'm just spouting out there and just saying stuff randomly, but you are 73rd nationally in yards per play. You average 391 total yards a game. That's behind Middle Tennessee State and right above Illinois. That is 60th in the country. Can you actually score consistently? Can a quarterback in that offense show up against good teams and put points on the board and get you over the top? That's what I'm stressed about. It's great that you put up 31 on Iowa and you shut them out. Congratulations. Perfect. Whatever. Who cares? We all know Iowa can't score and eventually they're going to roll over. You put up numbers against Rutgers. Great. Indiana, Purdue, Northwestern, whatever. Like, who cares? You have not done it against legit teams that actually matter on the spectrum. That's what I want to see consistently from you, and I haven't seen it yet, and it's going to continue to hold your team back, and it really held them back this year because, honestly, I think Michigan and Ohio State, of all the years, this is probably, at the time you played them, the most vulnerable they could have been for you to get them, and you still had no way. You couldn't even compete. So something's got to change there in Happy Valley offensively. Your defense is fine, and if Manny Diaz gone, who knows what that's going to happen, but your offense has got to get better. Drew Lohr's got to be better. Your running game's got to be better. I don't see big-time 5-star receivers want to go to Penn State to play for your offense. That right there should tell me when you're recruiting and these receivers are looking at Penn State like, no, not a chance, bro. That's a problem. You aren't even getting the high-quality offensive players on the perimeter to come play for you. You've got to evolve your offense. The old days of 3.5, 4 yards of cloud of dust and a play-action passing game are done. You've got to find ways to have more of a pro-style vertical pass game and mixing in the run. And right now, that's not present in Happy Valley. And if you playing an Ole Miss in this ball game and they're a high-powered offense, everybody back, you're going to have to score some points. Will your running game show up? Will your passing game show up? Will Drew Lohr lay a dud? That's what I'm looking at in this ball game. On the other side, Ole Miss. Will you actually show up in a big game? Haps, you mentioned the loss to Alabama and the loss to Georgia. You completely no-showed in both of them. You went to Tuscaloosa, your offense no-showed. You went to Athens, you got blown out. We've seen this before every year. 2 years ago, you had Matt Corral, the same kind of thing. Everything looks good. You go and play Alabama, you get smoked. if you had a defense, maybe a defense more consistent across the year, maybe a little bit better. You find maybe one of those games you could at least slow them down, but you're still not at that level of playing an elite spot. Can this game be your final breakthrough game where you can actually beat an elite defense and win a big game? Just today or yesterday, Lane Kiffin came out and said, the reason why I'm in the portal is I'm finding dudes at the line of scrimmage who can actually play, because right now my offense and defense, especially the line of scrimmage, does not have length, does not have dudes who can actually get after it. We got speed, we got playmakers, but we don't own the line of scrimmage, and we're getting destroyed there, and that's why we're losing. He's like, I love my own team, but I don't have the guys at the line of scrimmage to get over with. Will that be a factor? Are the linemen on the team right now today going to show up and take on Penn State? Penn State's front seven, especially on defense, those guys are hogs. They're going to get after you. They're going to hit you in the mouth. They are big dudes. They will fight. So the reason why it's called linebacker U, they churn guys through there all the time. This is a challenge for Ole Miss and that offensive line, that offensive staff to be tougher. Who is going to own the line of scrimmage in this ball game? Who is tougher? Who wants to be in Atlanta in this bowl game? Is this a blessing for Penn State? I think it's for them. Whatever. It's not the Rose Bowl. Is it a blessing and a want to be there for Ole Miss? Are you happy that you are the third or fourth SEC team, depending on where you want to rank Missouri, and getting them in this ball game? This is a statement game, I think, for both, and I'm not sure who actually wants to be there. It's going to be a weird game. It's going to be a noon kick. I think Ole Miss is a little more hungry, but I just don't know if they're going to be the disciplined team enough. They have too many penalties. They get ahead of themselves. They're all on the lane train thing, but when it gets down to it, I don't think that they are focused enough 24/7 to actually win a big ball game like this. And that's kind of why I think I'm going to go with Penn State. I think Penn State's defense will be enough. Their offense will probably not score enough, but the defense will keep it within reach and get some stops to get them off the field. I actually think it's going to be a very low-scoring ball game. I'm taking the under, but I think Penn State will win. We're going to get more like a 20-10, 23-13 ball game. I think Penn State's defense will show up and play tough, but their offense will struggle to score points. And it will leave Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss staff scratching their heads on why they're struggling. And going into next year, it might actually temper some expectations for all the momentum they have right now in the transfer portal. But Penn State will win in a very defensive-oriented football game.
Fresh, we've had a lot of conversations off air about these two teams, and I'll be honest with y'all. Ole Miss to me is like the shallowest of football teams when I say this, and I say that with the idea of like you see, a person who's absolutely stunning and then realize they have zero personality when you get to know them, and that's kind of what I feel like with Ole Miss is that they look great against lesser opponents, but then the minute they face anyone with any type of respectable defense, they go into their shell and are just awful. Like they can't do anything. Take a look at against Alabama, 10 points in that game. 10 points. And Georgia, you get boat raced. 17 points in that game. And even though 17, like that 17 is generous in that game. I even point out to something like Mississippi State. Like, you're on the road against Mississippi State. I get it's a rivalry game, but you didn't get to 17 until very late in that football game. Jackson Dart threw for under 100 yards in that football game. And Lane Kiffin is supposed to tout himself again as this great offensive mind, as this amazing. Yeah, you put up a 73-cent spot against Mercer. Phenomenal. Good job out of you. Vanderbilt, you won 33-7. The crap that is Auburn right there, 28-21 in that football game. This is my problem with Ole Miss. And it sounds like I'm just hating on Ole Miss, and you guys can say like, "Oh, this guy doesn't know Ole Miss football." Man, I think Quashon Judkins is one of the best running backs in college football. I think the offensive line play, just like Lane Kiffin, I don't think he's wrong. I think he's spot on. Quashon Judkins should be running all over people. And he's averaging 4.4 yards a carry. And he's got a long of 40 on the season. That means you're not opening big enough holes for him. That means that he's not like really breaking it past the second level. Your offensive linemen aren't engaging a linebacker and being able to get those longer runs, those 7-8 yard runs there. 15 touchdowns on the year. The kid's a beast. I mean, this kid is a beast. You gave him 237 carries on the season, and he will throw you on his back and carry you to victories at times. but I just really, really need to see more out of him against higher end competition. The one good thing for Ole Miss, there's very limited kids right now, as we're recording this, have been opted out, especially for Penn State. Chop Robinson has opted out as of right now, what the report I got here. That's a big time loss for Penn State. I know he was dealing with some injuries, so he may not have been even fully healthy for this one. So he may not have even played, and that's why he's kind of opting out of it. But man, that's a big win for them. As for Penn State, for me, we continue to talk about Katron Allen. We've talked about Nicholas Singleton. It's big for them. And you're right, Fresh. Drew Alar has not had that stud wide receiver this season. He hasn't had someone that you just like, man, this guy is absolutely phenomenal. They're looking more and more actually like Utah for me, because you take a look at what they do with the tight ends, with the defense that they have. They have a good quarterback who doesn't make a lot of mistakes, only one interception on the season from Drew Alar. He's only taken 14 sacks on the year. I wish that completion percentage was about 5 points higher. I'd feel really good about him if he was. But the one thing I liked about Penn State this year, outside of the running game, and again, Allen and Singleton, in my eyes, are still beasts. Like, those are two really, really good running backs that 98% of the college world, maybe 100% of the college world, would take either one of those dudes on their team as a running back. Like, I know, Fresh, Georgia's got running back questions going into 24. If you picked up Allen or Singleton in the portal, would you not be stoked? If they
Well, I
entered
think I prefer getting ETN over one of the 10, but hey, any kind of running backs,
right, but
that'll be
if you
fine.
but if you got Allen or Singleton there, you'd be like, oh heck yeah, this is going to be good. You might like ETN
Yeah, I
too,
mean,
but those two guys are
they are very
awesome.
good running backs. They are very good running backs, and they
Right.
are underused at Penn State.
Yeah, and that's kind of even how I feel. Like, I love Travion Henderson as an Ohio State fan, but I've told people before, like, if Allen or Singleton wound up as a Buckeye, I'd be doing backflips and cartwheels, and I can't do those. So I would also say, like, same thing. I would say the same thing with Ole Miss is Judkins. If I wound up with Judkins, oh my God, I'd be over the moon. I love that kid. I think he's just a phenomenal player. So I'm not hating on Ole Miss for their talent. I think my thing is more of the defensive side of this. I'm with you, Fresh. Give me Penn State to win this football game. I think they're going to be up for it. I think James Franklin needs this win. And I think Lane Kiffin has kind of mailed in the 23 season. I don't want to say, because of everything he's doing in the portal, with everything he's saying, their focus is now moved completely to 2024.
I'll give
They're
you that.
gonna they're gonna look at this game and go, we're using this game for practices and then going up against a team that we don't see very often. That's great for us. Win, lose, whatever happens, we don't care about that. We're setting up for 24, not for 23. Penn State, they need this for their 23 season. They lose this, and then what you can really say, I mean, Penn State's
All
best
three
win.
ranked teams are
Right.
losses.
What's Penn State's best win? Week 1 versus West Virginia, probably?
Yeah,
Maybe
you can't say it's Iowa. You
Iowa?
can't say it's
Yeah.
Iowa. Iowa's terrible, and Iowa has no reason being ranked. I think they were ranked by the committee to boost up Michigan or Ohio State, whoever won that
Right.
game in the championship game. But it's West Virginia week 1.
Yeah. The only thing I would give Iowa is at least you put up 31 on their defense, and their defense was good, but their offense was putrid. So that's the only thing I could say about that. But again, I'm with you. I'll go week 1 with West Virginia. So give me Penn State in this football game. I think they need it a whole lot more than Ole Miss needs it. So I got Penn State, and I got Penn State. I'm going to say this game's close, though. Give me it by, again, I like that 4 or 5 point range. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a really good number. But I'm with you. I got a feeling the under's coming in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very slow, methodical ball game. Just trying to, both teams trying to get through the ball games, as healthy as they can. One team gets a trophy, one team doesn't. They have a good time in Atlanta, and they move on to 24.
Yeah.